Hey guys, we're back again doing something we haven't done in quite some time now, and we're going to be taking a look at a naval kit. This week we're going to be looking at Hasegawa's 1/700th scale IJN Furutaka. Let's open her on up and take a look. Now, one thing I will say is this is a waterline kit, so you don't get the full hull. You just get this base piece. Also included on this sprue are a couple of the boarding ladders as well as one of the funnel stacks. And all of which, nothing really jumping out in terms of good or bad. It's just what you come to expect. Continuing on, next move on to the side hull pieces that will build up from that base plate, as well as a couple of the turrets and their mounting parts, a few other odds and end parts. Overall, the surface detail is more than adequate for the scale. Very, very nice, typical Hasegawa quality. Next up, we've got our main deck part, as well as some additional deck pieces and other smaller bits and bobs, and a couple of the mast pieces as well. Deck is very nicely rendered. Will take some doing to paint up properly and get looking correct, but that's to be expected. Much the same with these upper deck parts, as well as some of the build up for the float plane cradles. And that's it for that. Moving on, we've got now a double sprue of the guns themselves, as well as some of the torpedo launchers. Despite their small scale, they are nicely detailed, and hopefully this will focus and show up properly on camera. Now, despite, as I said, despite small scale, Hasegawa has packed a large amount of detail into this little kit. We also got a couple of the lifeboats as well on this sprue, and their crane mounts as well. Continuing on, we've got our main funnel and main mast. Again, hopefully this focuses. Hasegawa has rendered some very nice detail, though I will say, some of the ladders and surface detailing are things that you could theoretically go aftermarket with a photo etch set, but depending on how much you want to spend or how much time you want to spend on this particular project, it's one I would say you could be fine without. Our last sprue has our scout planes, as well as the bulk of the anti-aircraft guns as well. And I will say, because they are plastic and it's very thin, you want to take extra care when cutting these out and handling them, because it's going to be very, very easy to knock one of the barrels off without even trying. Now, unfortunately, the scout planes are molded in opaque plastic, so you will have to basically paint in a cockpit for them, as opposed to, say, a clear one, which you could get away with painting the bottom black and then just painting around the canopy frames. So that is a little disappointing, but otherwise they're nicely done for the scale. No real other complaints there. Now, we do get a nice heavy weight for the bottom, as well as, and if my nails can pick it up, some double-sided tape. I would say you could probably skip using tape and just glue it down for a much better time than have to worry about it potentially coming up in the future. Now, our decal sheets are actually surprisingly well done. Now, they do include markings for Furutaka's sister Cacao. However, no, the decal sheet's basically just for both. Similarly with the small decal sheet for the float planes. But overall, typical quality. White, however, could be just a little bit whiter. I cannot 100% confirm if it should be this slight off-white color or not, but that is something to be aware of. So moving on to the instructions. Build sequences is basically building up first the main guns and secondary armaments, the masts, the funnels, and then building up the superstructure before building your choice of float planes, and then attaching everything to the hull. Now, the paint key gives you a rough approximation color, and then the Hasegawa specific color, which we see here in the paint guide. They say you can either use the approximation color, or if you choose to get the more color specific paint set. At least here in the US, finding those paint sets can be a little more challenging. I'm not sure how the availability is in Japan. I'd like to think they're a little more easier to come by, but that is something to be aware of. Now, we're also given this additional sheet, which does include the instructions for the additional float planes that come with this kit, as well as all the AA armaments. And you also get this nice little additional key of what everything is for that. So give me a second to get everything back in, and I'll give my closing thoughts. Okay, so what do I think? I think all things considered, it's a decent little kit. You know, it's not the most detailed, but it's also not the least. I would definitely say this is one to consider if you're maybe wanting to get into naval modeling in this scale. You know, it's not overly complex, and you're not dealing with a super large number of small parts, like, say, you were building a destroyer. You know, it's a good middle ground kit for this subject matter. And yeah, I really can't say anything super bad against it in that regard. So that was a look at Hasegawa's 1/700th scale IJN Furutaka. You know, a nice little entry level kit if you want to get into building naval subject matter. So until next time.